Welcome to another breakdown video. I just thought I did go through a GBP AUD yesterday. I gave these three entries. Obviously this one here is triggered and we've melted to absolute perfection. You guys all got this yesterday, so no excuse at all. All I'm doing is breaking things down. I don't trade this pair. I'm just obviously making it breaking it down as I would any other pen, just showing that you need structure. Currently running about 46 pips in profit, approaching our TP target. So I'm going to choose a random one for today. Let's choose, I don't know, say Euro JPY. I don't trade this pair at all. I'm not particularly a great fan of yen, if I'm honest. So if I just remove everything from here, Euro, right, let's start by obviously analysing these pairs in general. Euro across the board, probably pretty weak. It's holding up against Euro USD here, but obviously is trending to the downside, as you can see on a weekly time frames. So overall Euro is not one of the strongest, but it's not too bad. Then we've got yen, very mixed data. We've got yields screaming higher. That's always going to hurt yen. So Euro, we're going to want to kind of favor drifting this to the upside, but be aware we can have these sharp moves to the downside. So let's obviously have a look at this on a monthly. We got to mark up this monthly level here, so we got to mark it up. We'd be stupid not to. Monthly. All right, so and then we've got, I don't know if I want to target much more. What are we breaking out up to? Potentially these highs, and that'll be enough of a trade. That'll be a pretty big trade there. Right, let's have a look on a weekly time frame here. We got one level down here. So let's not write on anything. We'll mark weeklies in orange. So I'm going to take that out. So weeklies are in orange. So I'm pretty happy with everything else. Nothing more really to add in regards to that. We could argue there is one here, but obviously there is no right or wrong place to draw a key level. You just don't want to overdraw them. So one thing that's worrying me about this is, as soon as we hop on a daily, once we're on, weekly uptrend, monthly uptrend clear. However, once we start to come down daily, we obviously made this low, we clear these levels. However, we have cleared back above, but it's not quite buy territory yet on a daily time frame. But obviously all these levels here are holding up nicely. Let's now have a look on an 8 hour, very slow, slow moving to the upside here. So that would kind of limit my risk on obviously how I would want to trade this. So, in regards to this 4 hourly here, we're currently hitting a little bit of support. We can mark this on with an arrow, just so we kind of understand what's going on. Let's put the arrows in blue. All right, we can mark that on with an arrow. We're currently kind of hitting a bit of support here. We've kind of identified, short term, as yields are screaming higher, we're not going to want to, sell this. All right, but we've got to be aware that there could be potential, dips pending. Let's now go on to a 2 hour. Everything's very slow here. So this, to me, I always speak about, no man's land. All right, I'm going to mark this in white. So we've kind of got, and I'll clone it and clone it again. So we've got kind of three areas here, all right, where we need to be thinking about potential entries or taking this up to where or from. But these will be my three areas here. Oh, not very nice. Well, weather out there today for a change. So these will be my three kind of areas here. What I'm doing here. There we go, that's one. Let's make sure they line up. My OCD is kicking in. So yeah, these will be my kind of three areas here. All right, 1, 2, and 3. That is what I would be looking at. Nothing in between, nothing out of the ordinary here. So something like this. All right. Now, we have risen up, we're driving to the upside quite heavily. So this, if I was trading this today, this would be my kind of direction. I don't want to be trading anything here. We class that as our no man's land. and we class this as our no man's land here. We're going to want to be entering on these areas here. Now, we got a couple of options. It does look like a pullback is potentially coming. However, we've got to go with trend, yields, screaming higher. For those of you who don't know, Japan, heavily relies on yields because obviously they import a lot of stuff. So what do they do to offset their own currency? They buy yields, and so obviously with yields screaming higher, that's going to be hurting yen, and it's a real kind of mixed bag here. So obviously, we've obviously got our ideal scenarios, but we got to be realistic. If we wanted to buy, we potentially might want to buy from here. All right. But obviously, we then have to be realistic. Is this going to happen today? No, it's not. All right. So I'm going to be looking for some kind of probably a retest. If we're looking at this on a 4-hour time frame, there's a lot of support here, so we could be kind of dying down into this area. Now, there'd be two kind of scenarios for me. We've got obviously I probably would even label this up here. So I'd have something like this. That would be my area here of kind of make or break. All right. Now, if we get a nice break to the upside on a 30-minute, if we clear this, potential retest and then continuation, right? Or if we get a nice rejection, anything below here, we're going to want to then take this to this area here. These would be my two areas. So if I was to mark these out, I'd want to be entering probably, we need to be realistic anywhere in this kind of region here, stops just above, and then obviously taking it down to this area, nice 1 to 2.6 trade. Or, if we're breaking above here, so if I move this over slightly, if we're breaking above here, then we're going to want something like this where we are, taking it up into this area, continuing with the euro strength over yen, and then doing probably something like this there, so 2.9. So these would be my two options here. Right now, all we're doing is just consolidating, so we need to allow for this to break. All right, we want a candle to look a little bit like this, where it's nice and clear, nice and clean, and then we've got our two targets here. So that would obviously be what I'd be waiting for. I'd be putting an alert on the bottom here and an alert probably just above on the top, because we want to be notified when it's going to break, and then we can make up our mind as to what we're going to do. But that is what I would do here on Euro JPY.